these smells of burnt electronics. They haven't exploded, they have exploded because of corrosion. Yes, this definitely needs to be resoldered. Oh, there we go, we have another one. Well, this motherboard is a bit temperamental, I can see that. Why are the capacitors getting hot? It works to me. Hello and welcome, it's mail day today. I've got these two massive parcels. They were sent by two friends of the channels. One is coming from Germany, one is coming from the Netherlands. Today we're gonna open them up and explore what's inside. So let me thank today's sponsor, PCBWay. Stay with me, sit back and relax, and let's see what's inside these parcels. I'm going to begin with this box. This comes from the Netherlands, from Arno. Thank you so much for the donation. It's really appreciated. And I have to apologize because this has been sitting here on the floor for more than a year. So I'm really sorry, but you know, that can happen. So let's open this up. Let's not waste time because this is quite heavy. I'd imagine there's quite a lot of stuff inside. Well, I don't know, I'm speechless. This is like Christmas. Look at that. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motherboards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boards. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. I would say lots of videos. I'm not sure that this video is going to be enough. So what can we do in this video? I think I'm going to, have a look at these boards. So maybe I should really start a small database and keep track on everything because otherwise I lose track myself. I don't think we're going to do any repair attempts, but we're going to maybe do a quick test, see what they do. Also for me, at least I can leave a note on my little Excel sheets where what happened with the board, what it's doing, what it's not doing. I also think I have an email from Arno sending me a little details about these items. So maybe I can go back to the email and try and match the items with the email. Let's begin with one item. So let me sort out this pile of components and let me begin with one. All right, the first item is a motherboard. It's an ASUS A7V-ML. According to the RetroWeb, this is an HP OEM board, also known as HP MAUI. And I can see here on the BIOS, there's a sticker that says MAU 08. So I'd imagine this used to live into an HP machine. Now, I couldn't find a reference on Arno's message about this motherboard, so we can try and power it up and see what happens. This is a socket A. PGA 462 motherboard, and I see something interesting. There's a little module here, which I believe is where the network is supposed to be. Here it says Realtek Fast Ethernet, but I believe that if I remove this, assuming it comes off, yes, so the Realtek chip is missing, and we have this Connexant instead. So I can see here it says LCD TV, and here on the module, here, I don't know if you can read it, it says LCD TV. I'm not sure whether it's referring to the fact that this connector is the LCD TV, or maybe this has something to do with LCD TV. And yes, the Connexant BT869KRF is a video encoder with scaler. This is so interesting. So this doesn't have Ethernet on the board, but it has some sort of a video output. I'd imagine there's some video output at the back. No, really. So I'd imagine this is giving the board an S-video or composite through this little connection here. I should have a CPU that fits. I don't know, let me check this one. This is an Athlon CPU. I can see it physically fits into the socket. The board is in good shape. I don't see damage on it. So who knows, this might work. Now I'll have to find cooler, because AMD CPUs of this era won't have any thermal protection. So I'll have to find one of those big chunky AMD socket A cooler. I believe this is the only cooler I got that is compatible with the socket, and it's not my favorite because the spring here is very, very, very tough, and I would feel it's quite easy to slip your screwdriver and just make a hole in the motherboard. But let's go ahead and try this one. I hope this is not one of those HP boards which need something from the HP front panel, but hopefully not. I know I haven't got the battery, I haven't got the RAM, I have the post-analyzer card, I still don't have a 90-degree adapter so you can see it. What I'd like to do now is just power it on, see, it should beep because RAM is missing, it should hopefully post some codes here, see what it's doing, and if it's showing signs of life, we'll move on to the next step. 3, 2, 1, go. Yes, no, it's definitely working. Magic. Let me get my capture device. Let me find some RAM. The battery obviously is not needed, and we'll turn it on. Yes, definitely an HP board, as the RetroWeb suggested. And yeah, everything seems to be working fine. Well, working fine. It's posting. It's not working fine, but I don't see like immediate issues with this board. Let's try to run something real quick. You know what I'm going to run. Hello. There we go. It was my capture device. It's working totally fine. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave a note on this motherboard saying it's working, probably to be tested a bit more if really someone wants to be sure, but everything seems to be working totally fine. So I would say let me make a note on this board and then we'll move to another item. The next item is very interesting, but it's also in a horrendous shape. And yes, Arno mentioned that in the email. And this is quite nice. I think this is going to be an interesting project. I don't think I want to turn this on today. You'll notice it's covered in grime. We have the battery here, which has created quite a lot of damage around here, but it's nothing horrible. I think with some vinegar and a good scrub, that's kind of recoverable. There is also, unfortunately, quite a lot of corrosion, a bit everywhere, but in this area here. So I'd imagine maybe there was another motherboard or whatever happening on top of the motherboard, and that unfortunately caused extra corrosion, extra damage. Is this recoverable? I don't know. Is it worth recovering? I don't know, but it could be an interesting project. Now, Arno said he couldn't find the model, and I had a look on the RetroWeb, and at the beginning I couldn't find it myself because I was looking for 2 8-bit slots, 3 16-bit slots, and 3 Visa local bus, but they are considering this, which is right, 6 16-bit slots and 3 Visa local bus, and this should be a Shuttle, Hot 419 revision unknown. It matches everything. I've got this picture here, and to me that's exactly the same board. There is really nothing at the back, only a serial number /94. Imagine that's the year of manufacturing, and you might be able to see that we have corrosion here and corrosion here, unfortunately, which means the corrosion has got inside in between the layers of the motherboard. So I'm not sure how much this could be recovered, but you never know. Also, you might notice there are some resistors which have literally, they haven't exploded, they have exploded because of corrosion. So that's going to be more or less impossible to find the value. I guess we will have to, I mean, we have a picture here. Oh yes, the picture is quite high definition, so yeah, we can definitely see the values here. That's great. Who put this picture on? I won't pronounce that right, Elke Wimmer. Thank you for publishing this picture, because obviously this is helping in fixing this one. I guess this is going to be a future project. It's an interesting one. Do you think it's worth, is this like a motherboard worth saving? Fair enough, it's a Visa local bus. I don't think there are many motherboards with Visa local bus. Is this going to be reliable? I don't know. As I said, what I'm going to do today is to cut the battery. And I think I'm going to wash it in vinegar, because obviously we've got corrosion ongoing here. And if I leave it in a box as it is, it will continue to be corroded by the existing chemicals which are on the board. So I'll get some gloves, I'll get a bucket, and I'll wash it in vinegar, and then I'll rinse it with a hose, leave it outside. It's sunny today, which is kind of unusual for the UK. Well, it's summer. And I'll leave it to sunshine for a little bit, and then it's going to be a future project. And by the way, I forgot to mention that the board came with the Cyrex CX486 DX266, which I'm not going to test today. It's a little washed and it's a bit more TLC. We'll test it at some point for a future video, but I'll make a note that this is untested. Let's move to the next board. The next board is a Socket 7, and from my understanding from the email I got from Arno, this shows no signs of life. I had a look on the RetroWeb, and this should be the Jetway J-542, it says here, 502C, and the picture here, I think it matches completely. I was a bit concerned about this missing chip, but no, it's missing on the picture on the RetroWeb as well. So this actually looks in great shape. It looks very clean, it looks brand new. but I had a quick inspection. I definitely can see some scratches at the back. And maybe that's nothing, but we might need to have a look under the microscope in case that's actually severed some of the lines. I also see something here. That's probably nothing, but the traces there are really, really small. So we want to make sure that those are intact. I don't see any other damage. So I'd imagine we can give it a quick go, but this is a socket 7, so it's not going to be plug and play. But thankfully we have the manual here, so I'll have a look at the jumper settings, set it up for like a simple CPU I have, and we can see whether it's doing anything or, as Arno says, is no signs of life. Alright, I got out this Pentium. It's a Pentium 166, should be a vanilla version, so it's not MMX. We don't have to worry about dual voltages, even though we have to set them up. And by looking on the manual, I got the clock setting for 66 megahertz, so that would be off, on, as you can see here on the blue one, and the multiplier 2.5, which is on, off. And I also have the I/O voltage, between 3.45. What is the difference between 3.45 and 3.52? But it's set to 3.52, and I think that is totally fine. Also, once again, this is 3.5 volts across the board, so it doesn't really matter. I realized that this is quite a nice board because it's got ASUS slots, PCI slots, and the AGP slots. And I do see a couple of MOSFETs here. I'd imagine these are for the 3.3 volts generation for the AGP. Sometimes you find on those boards a small linear 3.3 volts regulator, which is usually a weak point because the GPU, the AGP video card might require more current than the regulator can offer. But this seems to be a more beefy one. Now, I've just realized something. I think the BIOS chip is missing. I'd imagine this is the BIOS here, and we don't have one here. So that's probably why the board says, well, the email says no signs of life. Now, we do have the BIOS on the RetroWeb, so I'd be tempted to burn one real quick and test it, because obviously in this days, this is not going to work. Alright, so I've stolen the BIOS chip from this board. It's the same size and topology of the one I found on the picture. I programmed it with the one I found on the RetroWeb. There we go, it's the right direction. Then we can add the CPU. A little bit of thermal paste. I'm going to do a quick test, so I don't need to waste it. Same RAM that I used before. This is a socket 7, so we need a video card of some sort. I have my trusted S3 Trio or Trio 64V+. There we go. On this board we have ISA slots, so I can use my 90-degree adapter here, so you can see, hopefully, the postcodes. Now the board has facility for AT and ATX. I'm going to go with AT. It's just it's kind of simple. You don't have to push any buttons or anything. Though I'll have to check. There might be a jumper to select between the two. But I'll begin with AT. And finally a little speaker. So if the board has something to say, we can see that. 3, 2, 1, go. No, dead, completely dead. Let's make sure that this is set for ATX and this is not looking for some sort of power on signal somewhere. Well, I don't see a mention of a selection for telling the board which one of the power supplies is being used, but there is a PS on jump. Well, it's not a jumper here; it's connection for the button at the front. So maybe that's all it takes. I don't know. I doubt it. But let's turn it on again. Nope. Nothing happens. Okay, last thing, let's put a battery. I think a socket 7 will start without a battery, but you never know. Oh, okay, I stand corrected. It needs the battery. Oh my gosh, I don't remember actually seeing a motherboard, especially of this era, that needed a battery to start, really? I'm impressed. Okay, 166 megahertz, 128 megabytes of RAM, and everything seems to be working totally fine. No keyboards, we don't care. Wow, I'm impressed. So obviously this wasn't working because they had no battery, and most importantly, no BIOS. Let's run my usual quick test. Well, this board seems to be working fine. Obviously, again, it would need a little bit more testing, but it's fine. I'll make a note that this is working. Might want to go ahead and buy a replacement BIOS chip, maybe a few, just to keep them as spares. Definitely want to make sure that this board is still working. What was that? I don't remember, but it's a working motherboard, so it definitely needs a new BIOS. Fantastic, this is in great shape. We fixed something on this video, at least we've done something. Let's move to the next item. I designed this 90 degrees adapter myself. It's perfect for diagnostic purposes. It allows me to show you the post analyzer on camera, and it also allows to have an ISA board facing up for diagnostic purposes. There is an 8-bit version and a 16-bit version, and they were manufactured by PCBWay, the sponsor of this video. You can find my designs on PCBWay store. They're super easy to order, it's just a click away. But they are also free for you to download, so you can download a Gerber file and do whatever you want with them. And if you have your own project that you'd like to order, well, it's super simple on PCBWay.com. All you need to do is to upload the Gerber file on the instant quote section. The system is more or less automatic. I tend to change the color of the PCB to my liking. Once you're happy with all the settings, it's just a matter of selecting a postal service, place the order, and the PCBs will be delivered at your place. PCBs, 3D prints, CNC machining, and sheet metal fabrication, PCBWay is really a one-stop shop for all your projects. Take a look at PCBWay.com, and the link is also down below in the description. It's an affiliated link, so if you place an order through that link, you're also helping the channel. And let me thank PCBWay for sponsoring my videos on my channels, because their help makes these videos possible. So thank you very much, PCBWay. Now, let's continue with this magic box full of items. Right, the next board I think is something special. It says here model 4386-VIO. I found it online on the retro web. And this is a dual 386/486 board. So I don't know what kind of CPU is under the cooler, which is not in great shape. I think, yeah, it's been hit. But apparently you can fit a 386 and a 486 on the same board. And we also have space here for the QFP version of the 386. The board says here, high screen universal board. And it was installed in the Vobis type of computer, high screen 486. Computers. Here on the documentation we have the user manual of the Vobis, and it says here the 4386VIO cache system motherboard supports either 486 or 386 systems. This is absolutely amazing, and it even comes with RAM, with SIM. We'll have a look at the size. Now, the board is, I would say, in decent shape. The battery is inside the Dallas chip, so it hasn't leaked. And I do have somewhere the Necroware's Dallas replacement boards, even though if I remember right, those can be actually opened with hot air. They can be completely dismantled, and you can solder a battery on top, so you don't have to buy new chips or anything. I don't see a huge amount of corrosion. The ISO slots are gold plated, so that's great. At least they look gold plated. There is a little bit of corrosion here on the where the cache would go, but nothing serious. It's a bit dirty, but I don't see damage, and I feel this is fantastic. Let's have a look at the back. Yeah, I don't see anything obviously wrong with this board, and this is huge. This is absolutely fantastic. I'm really happy. And what kind of CPU am I going to find under this heatsink? I don't even know how to remove it. I think this is being glued, unfortunately. Yeah, it's definitely being glued. I might be able to pull out the whole thing, and hopefully it says at the back whether it's a 386 or 486. I mean, it says as big as this socket, so I'd imagine it might be a 486. I'm not a fan of those sockets because every time I'm trying to unplug one of these CPUs, it feels like I'm about to rip off the socket off the board. You know, first thing first, let me use my air compressor. I'm going to dust the board entirely. Let's have a look at this RAM. What kind of RAM? What amount of RAM have we got on this system? Now, the good news is that the fingers are gold plated. So yeah, I do see a little bit of maybe a little corrosion, but it should come off. It's gold. And secondly, these should be 1 megabyte chips with parity. I see these two little chips here plus a different one. We have 4 of them. So this should be 4 megabytes of RAM, which, you know, it's a good amount for the time. Now, there's another thing I'm noticing on this board. Tantalum capacitors. I really would like to try and power on this board. The chances are this is going to work. It's got the BIOS, it's got everything it needs to have. Probably not, the Dallas is not going to work. Is that going to be required, the battery inside the Dallas, for the system to work? That's the question mark. Let me see if I have a note from Arno about this board. Maybe there's a known issue. And no, I don't really see anything on the email that I can see. So let me plug a power supply, then I'll wear some goggles, and we'll try and turn it on. Now, before I try to power this on, I think it's only wise to check for direct shorts, even though tantalum capacitors, they tend to short once power is applied. This is fine, doesn't read anything. This is reading kilo ohms, fine. This is not reading anything, kind of weird. Not reading anything, and then we should have ground. So yeah, ground, 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 ground. Nothing here. Kilo ohms, and kilo ohms. Perfect. So nothing obvious. I do see some corrosion on the power supply pins. I need to apply some contact cleaner and maybe have some mechanical action because it's not too bad, but it's definitely bad. Now for a test, this is going to be fine, but that's definitely something that needs a little bit of attention. Probably even just apply a little bit of solder is going to be fine. Now, the board would need some jumpers to be set depending on the CPU, but again, accessing the top of the CPU right now is not a trivial task. So as a start, I'm going to assume that the jumpers are correct. We'll turn it on. Depending on whether it has signs of life or no signs of life whatsoever, we'll move to the next step. Goggles are on. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, no bangs. But he's dead. That's also not great. Oh, no, he's not dead. He's doing something. Why would you believe that? But there's no codes in here. Well, it might be just a slot. Now, the thing is, the tantalums can still explode, all right? Every time you apply power, I guess for a little while, it might happen. Let me try and put some contact cleaner here. 3, 2, 1, go. Yes, look, there is something. And then it beeps or not. Yes. Maybe the board doesn't have the standard codes, and that's all it does, or maybe there's an issue with the connector, but this beep is telling me probably it's posted. So let me find a video card. Chances are this is working. 3, 2, 1, go. Right, still FF. Yes, it's working. Look at that. Oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. Oh, wow, that's one of those old-fashioned things. Does it say CPU clock 50 megahertz is fine because I didn't mention, but the clock here is 50 megahertz. Memory size has changed. Yes, CMOS, of course, the battery has failed. Keyboard is working. That's a very unusual BIOS. I don't remember seeing something like this, but I just want to exit. Well, save and exit. I'll try F10 and will ask me. Yes, F5 to save and exit. And this should now continue. 4 megabytes of RAM. Yes, that calculation, my little investigation was fine. Well, I'd imagine without the DALS chip working, that's what happens. But it's fine. I guess if I just type F1, it tries to boot. This thing has an IDE controller on board, so we can turn it off and, once again, try our little compact flash. Right, the problem is that this board doesn't have an automatic detection of the hard drive. I really never, number one, I don't know how this is formatted or structured. I never really took a note about the cylinder heads and sectors of this thing. So I don't know, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but this is working. I'd imagine it would be nice to give it a good clean and, oh yeah, maybe find out what CPU it is. Well, now we know this is working. I'd be curious to see what CPU is under this thing. Let me see if I can quickly remove it. And as expected, we have a nice ceramic 486DX at 50 MHz, so nothing special, but it's nice. And we know this is working along with the motherboard, so fantastic. I was totally not expecting this board to just work like this, but it's great. It's a very, very nice old-fashioned 486 motherboard, which also works with 386. Absolutely impressive. Let's move to the next one. The next board is a bit less vintage, let's put it that way. It's a Gigabyte GA8 SR533P. There is actually still the board listed on the Gigabyte website. I think Gigabyte, they still have all those old boards with all the BIOSes and everything on their website. Amazing. But there is a listing on the RetroWeb as well. This is a socket 478, which includes some Pentium 4, which makes this board a bit more interesting, let's put it that way. It looks in great shape, it's blue. And there is a note in here that says, will work with Voodoo 3 3000 and Voodoo 4 4500. Why is that? Are those video cards some special cards and they require maybe some sort of power or compatibility? If you know that, leave a comment down below because I'm quite curious. There's nothing really so special to call home. I don't see any damage anywhere. The point is, I'm not sure I have a heatsink for this. Now, first thing first, it comes with a CPU. So what kind of CPU is that? Well, it's a bit difficult to see, but I believe it's a Pentium 4 233 megahertz. So I think that's a good processor. I'm not entirely sure it's the most favorite Pentium 4. I don't know. Again, leave a comment down below. But I would say it's a good one. So I guess we can try and power this on. Now, I definitely don't have a heatsink for this. I don't even know exactly how it works with its clips, but I definitely don't have it. So an old Xbox 360 heatsink will do for a quick test. So let me add some thermal paste. Now, if not mistaken, a Pentium 4 is not like an AMD Athlon. They should be able to protect themselves. They shouldn't go up in smoke even without a heatsink. And I've just realized this board doesn't have a video output, so it will need a video card. Yes, this board comes with a ASUS 645 chipset, which doesn't feature a video output. So yeah, a video card is definitely required. We will go with the trusted PCI that I was testing before. Okay, I'm ready to go. Power to the power supply. Yes, and let's try and power this up, keeping an eye on the heatsink and see whether we have any output of this board. 3, 2, 1, go. Well, there is power, but there is no activity whatsoever unless... No, there's definitely no activity whatsoever. The speaker is connected, so the board is not beeping. I'm not sure whether the CPU is getting warm or not, because it will take a while, even if it's doing something. Obviously, this doesn't have a 12 volts input, right? No. I can feel that the CPU is getting warm, so, well, power is getting there, but nothing happens. Let's try with the battery. You never know, this is one of the boards. I think this is one of the era when some of the boards needed the battery, so I'd imagine this is completely dead. It's not actually, it's reading 2.9, even though it's a bit loose in here, but I think it's intentional. 2.9 should actually work, so that's bad news. I guess by removing the battery, you're also resetting the BIOS, but I'll reset it in a minute. If you watched my previous video, you will know that I've learned the hard way that resetting the BIOS is not an option when you're diagnosing a board that doesn't start. Let's try this again. Still nothing, so that's not great. There is no jumper to clear the CMOS, but there are pads, so I can just short 1 and 2 here. There we go, using my tweezers. Yeah, still completely dead. Okay. Well, I might have found something wrong with this board. Let me show you. I don't know how much you can see, but something happened with the ITE chip. And I had a look online, and that chip is a low pin count interface, which is dealing with a number of things. It's the hardware monitor, fan speed controller, game port. Obviously, there's a game port just nearby. UARTs, MIDI interface, a parallel port, a floppy disk controller, smart card reader, and then it's got 48 general purpose I/O pins. Flash ROM interface. The BIOS is just adjacent, so I'd imagine this could be in between the bus, the main bus, and the BIOS. Well, bottom line is I have a feeling if that is disconnected, the board might not start. Now, it's really unclear what happens there, so I think I want to take a quick look under the microscope. Now, from this point of view, it looks like the pin is missing intentionally, from manufacturing. Let's try from a different angle. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Is that a scorch mark? I have a feeling the pin just vaporized itself. And there on the more towards the right-hand side, you have the scorch mark. Let's get a bit closer. So the thing is, where there was supposed to be a pin, I think there is a black hole. Not a hole, but a black mark. And this doesn't seem healthy either. I don't know, I'm a bit confused by this. I think I can definitely see the remains of some copper on the left-hand side pin. leg actually. And yeah, I'd imagine something very catastrophic happened here. Let me try and clean this area with a cotton bud. Sometimes the suit disappears and it reveals what happened behind it. Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, definitely something happened here. I can have a look at the datasheet and see what those pins are responsible for. I'd imagine there might have been an overvoltage on a serial port or something connected to the outside world. I actually think I was right. There is a hole in here. There is definitely a hole in here. I can see my tweezers can actually go inside. Let's try and find out what those pins were responsible for. Now, if I'm seeing this right, that's the right orientation of the chip, and we're talking about the 13th pin from the left, which is VCCH. So let's find out what that is. Well, it says here plus 5 volts VCC help supply. Interesting, we got 5 volts power supply, 3.3 volts battery supply, and 5 volts help supply? I'm not entirely sure what that is, though there are two important things that I can mention you. Number one, these smells of burnt electronics. So something definitely happened there. Number two, I'm sure you've been screaming on the screen. Yes, there is a 12 volt CPU connector. I didn't see it. Did I have something in front of it? Well, I didn't see it. So we can try again with the 12 volts. Chances are maybe the board is still working and something else is not working there. So let's try again with the 12 volts connected. And why do I have a bad feeling about that? That's why I have the goggles. 3, 2, 1, go. Nope, still nothing. The chip is cold. Well, I guess if it fried, it's already fried. No, that's me. Yeah, okay, well, the board is dead. And I'd imagine that chip, if it's fried on the bus, it's probably not going to work. So this could be, I would say, an interesting repair. I might be able to find one of those chips and probably replace it. The question is, why did it fry? Was there an overload somewhere, an overvoltage actually? Or maybe something else is damaged. So I'll just make a note on my database and it might be a future video. So let's move to the next item. Let's take a break from motherboard, shall we? So the next item is a video card. It's an ATI Mac 64 VT. You can find all the information here on the retro web. I didn't really find any information on the email that Arno sent me about this board, but I think I can see where the problem is. Well, first thing first, there is a broken capacitor, though a broken capacitor, I think it's coming off, at this stage shouldn't really prevent the board from starting. These are smoothing capacitors that are very important, but I wouldn't expect the board not to do anything without them. Then I'm seeing something here at the back. I think this is the clock chip, and I don't know, I think the solder joint is bad. Yeah, that is definitely not great, so that will need to be resoldered, and I'd imagine that without clock, the board is not going anywhere. And finally, and most importantly, behind the BIOS chip, there is a bodge wire, as I think there was a scratch, and I'd imagine maybe Arno doesn't have a microscope to check, and yeah, I can see the bodge wire is trying to connect this broken trace, but it looks like maybe some traces are joined together in there, I'm not entirely sure. Yes, this definitely needs to be resoldered, and that's the clock chip. I would say it's quite important. And this is the damaged track, so that shouldn't be a problem. This is just severed, and Arno added a little bodge wire up there, so this should actually be working totally fine. So let's quickly fix that broken capacitor, not that I think it's so important, and then we can give it a go and see if by any chance just fixing the clock fixed it. Now, since we are under the microscope, shall we double check that all those little legs are actually attached? Because those packages are notorious for coming loose after many years. Well, there is clearly some damage here, though the legs seem to be still attached. The one on the edge is probably a bit mangled, I'm not sure. I mean, it's salvageable. Now, I think this damaged leg is not touching this one. This is detached, so that's obviously going to be a problem. So I would say let me try and just resolder this area. I'll continue checking the other ones, and then I'll come back here, resolder this area. I won't touch this one. I think as soon as I try and straighten it up a bit, it will just fall off. Oh, There we go, we have another one. So yeah, this is number 57. To test this card, I'm going back to the Jetway Socket 7 motherboard that we tested a moment ago. We know this board works, so let's test it a bit more. Card is back in, is it gonna work? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, but if I keep unplugging things here... 3, 2, 1, go. Well, this motherboard is a bit temperamental, I can see that. Unless something is wrong with the board. Okay. It's not a video card, because now it doesn't do anything without the video card either. Well, the board suddenly died. I can see it's stuck into a reset state, so it's not even trying to start. So it looks like we might need to revisit this board at some point. It wasn't just the BIOS and the battery. It's kind of weird though. It was working. What happened? The board is so stuck into this reset state that the CPU is getting lukewarm, but it's definitely not executing any code whatsoever. Perché devi morire proprio così? Potevi aspettare 10 minuti, no? I can feel this inductor here is getting really hot. I mean, I can't touch it anymore. And I believe this is for the CPU V-core. Yeah, I have to turn it off because I can't touch it anymore. Am I shorting something at the back? Not that I can see that. Now, without the CPU, the inductors are still getting not as hot. I mean, this one, yes, it's almost uncomfortable to touch, and there is no CPU. Well, I'd imagine maybe it's not the CPU V-core. I don't know. The capacitors are getting hot. What's going on here? Why are the capacitors getting hot? Maybe there's a shorted capacitor. That would explain nicely everything. Well, I definitely have 3.5 volts. That should be VCC2. Yeah, 3.47. The other side. This is definitely the 3.5 volts generation, and this 5 volts. I guess that's the 5 volts in, so it goes through a little inductor. This is another 3.5 volts, and I've noticed the inductor is broken. I didn't realize that before. That's like half of the inductor. That could be a problem for sure. Well, the fact that these capacitors are they're not scorching hot, but they're getting warm without anything connected. Yeah, the north bridge is getting, kind of lukewarm, as you'd expect. Same with the south bridge. The BIOS is fine. There doesn't seem to be anything on the board which is absorbing current, but this section is getting hot. Though now the inductor is not scorching hot as it was before, even without the CPU. I mean, I'm checking how much the board is drawing. On the 5 volts line, it's 0.8 amps. I think it's totally fine. Of course, we have still quite a few components being powered. There is something wrong, I would say, with the power generation on this board. I suspect probably one or more of these capacitors are on the way out. Well, let me try and plug the CPU again. Chances are it's kind of intermittent. And these are now, the inductors are now getting really hot. 6 amps, 6.5 amps with nothing happening. Okay, this is going to be a repair video. There's something shorted, and I'd imagine it's something with the power supply. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the board died before your eyes. Fantastic. Let's find another one and let's continue. And I'm back on the HP board. So let's keep using boards that we've tested before, so we test them a bit more. Now, this has integrated graphics, so first let me make sure it works with my S3 card. I don't think it is, so I might need to go into the BIOS and change the setting. Right, I've been playing with this off camera for a while, and now it works with the RAM on DIN 2 instead of DIN 1? What? Why? I'm sure that earlier on I installed it on DIMM 1. I'll have to go back and check on the footage. This is the beauty of working with vintage computers, especially old and potentially broken boards. You think of doing something that's going to take 5 minutes? No, it's going to take 50 or 500 minutes, depending how lucky you are. Well, I should be able to get into the BIOS. Yeah, this is working. I'm not going to touch the RAM now. Let me see if there's an option to change the video card from the integrated one to PCI or AGP. There we go. We have as a primary video adapter AGP. I can change it to PCI, and that might work. Okay, so let's try with the S3 video card. Right, okay, so we made the PCI slot work. That's a good starting point. Now let's go back onto the Mac 64 that we started like half an hour ago and see if that works. And no, it's not working. That being said, I think on the email that Arno sent me, which again, it was referencing to a different board, so I'm not entirely sure. It did mention something about tinkering with the BIOS, so maybe that's all it takes. But that's going to be for another video. Now, I would say let's move to the next item. I will make a note about this motherboard that I don't know, it struggled to start and only started when I moved the RAM on DIMM 2. If you have an idea, I mean, I think I do have an idea. These boards are from year 2000-ish or something like that, and they were completely random and unreliable, and sometimes they only wanted a combination of RAM in that specific place. Anyway, let's move on. And as you can see, now the board is working with the RAM on DIMM 1, so I have no idea what happened. Let's move on. The next item is another video card, but this is an AGP card. It's an ASUS V8420S, and this is an NVIDIA GeForce 4 Ti 4200. This one apparently is not working. It's a very nice card for retro gaming. I'm not a massive expert, but I understand it's quite well regarded in the retro gaming community. And Arno found a component with a black mark on it, and I think I found it. Even without getting under the microscope, you can see that this transistor, I guess, has a hole on it. So that suggests a short or an overheating or overcurrent of some sort. That being said, I don't see that as a massive issue because I would need to check on the pinout. But I see that something is coming here, and then you have these two chunky traces going to this connector here. This connector here is the fan. So maybe the fan kind of shorted something, stopped spinning, and maybe the fan doesn't have one of those protection to prevent overloading when the fan is not spinning anymore, or maybe this component just failed. But that could be a simple fix. I would say, let me give it a quick go. I would probably use the same motherboard if it's still working that I was using a moment ago because it has AGP, and this could be an interesting repair. But we can do a proper diagnostic on a dedicated video. For now, let's give it a quick go and make sure it actually doesn't work. As before testing an unknown AGP card, I have a working AGP card. I need to get back to the BIOS, reset to AGP first, and then we'll test this card, and then we'll go ahead and we'll test the ASUS card. Well, the board is posting, which I think it's a good achievement. And the board keeps giving it refuses to get into the BIOS, though the board is not stuck, because I'm pressing caps lock, tapping caps lock, and it works. Either it takes forever to get into the BIOS, maybe it's looking for something, I don't know. Maybe I should get another board. Well, it managed to get into the BIOS. I don't know, I feel I shouldn't use this board for testing, but I did reset the board using the pins here. I shorted the pins on the board, it was already on AGP. So let's try the AGP card. I'm definitely pushing my luck here. So you need to press enter to continue. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I pressed enter, there was a window. I think it was asking me for where to boot from. Oh, now it's working. Because we tested this board with Doom, right? There you go, it's working. Now it's working. Now it's working straight, without delays, without anything. I don't know. I feel there's something, even though it doesn't feel like a hardware problem, it feels like maybe a BIOS quirkiness or something. I have no idea. But it is working. Let's try. Let's try this AGP card. It's never going to work. Oh, it's working. Okay, I am super impressed. That's my MX400. Is he even doing something? No. Yeah, it kind of gets stuck there, but if I press tab enter, once, twice, thrice, it gets stuck there. This is, I don't know what's wrong with this board, to be honest. There is something wrong with this board. Oh, no. And then it comes with that. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with the board. Maybe it's looking for something. Maybe the system it was coming from. Maybe it's the TV module here. I don't really know. But for testing purposes, this is still fine. Let's test. Gosh, this is taking like 100 times the time that I had in mind. So let's remove this AGP card and let's test these ASUS card and see what it does. Moment of truth. Is it gonna work? 3, 2, 1, go. Well, the fan is spinning, so the fan is still working. Oh, look, we do have something, but it's corrupted. Interesting, very interesting. I don't really think that burnt component has anything to do with that. That looks like a RAM issue of some sort. Very, very interesting. Okay, I was totally not expecting this. So this might be an interesting repair diagnostic. Oh yes, that's completely messed up. This is either BGA, this could be RAM, it could be lots and lots of stuff. The DAC. I mean, it's still working in the background, you can see that, I can control it. It works to me. Okay, well, this is a very interesting board. I'm really happy. Thank you, Arno, for sending it. Let me get out of Doom. We don't need this horrible noise. And it might be a very interesting repair video. I might need to educate myself whether there's a way to test the RAM, some tools of some sort. Obviously, for modern video cards, there's plenty of tools. Let's move on and let's find something else. I'll make a note. This will get a repair video at some point. Well, we are not even halfway through the first box and this video is already getting a bit too long. So I'm gonna pause it here and there will be another part next time. And this is just the first box and that's another one to explore. It always takes so much more time than I had predicted in my mind. But don't miss the next part, because there are a couple of interesting items at the end of this box and I asked a very special guest to give me a hand at troubleshooting those items.
Oh, you can move those. So from my experience, sometimes they just introduce some sort of resistance that basically makes the card not work. If you can move pins like this, it has to be reflown.
Oh, it shouldn't, of course. Oh, no, 100%. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as usual, I'd appreciate a thumb up down below. And also consider subscribing to this channel and my second channel if you like this kind of things. Don't forget I'm on Facebook and on Patreon, and the links are down below in the description. There is a free tier on Patreon, so no excuses. But if you don't want to support me on Patreon, well, maybe you can buy me a coffee, and the link is also down below in the description. If you don't want to buy me a coffee, that's totally fine, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again soon here on my channels for my next videos. Thank you very much and goodbye. Bye bye.